Yet paying customers are waiting to see her on stage, and she took off and headed to a balcony where she could belt out Evita's hit song, Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, live for free to strangers on the street.
The moment that would define Rachel Zegler's career collapse played out in brutal real time before a packed house at London's historic Palladium Theatre. Midway through Evita's emotionally charged first act, just as the orchestra swelled toward the iconic Buenos Aires number, Zegler suddenly stopped singing mid-verse, her microphone picking up a sharp inhale before she turned on her heel and disappeared into the wings without explanation. The audience's murmurs grew to confused chatter as the house lights awkwardly came up, stagehands scrambling while the music faltered to a stop. Backstage, chaos erupted. Dressers reported seeing Zegler burst into her dressing room and slam the door, while the stage manager frantically radioed for understudy Bella Brown, who was reportedly stretching in a fourth-floor rehearsal room, completely unaware she'd be making her professional lead debut in minutes.
It comes with so much ground that I never thought I would be able to cover, and that people think I'm doing poorly, and other people think I'm doing gracefully, and I don't think I'm doing it at all.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
Social media footage from multiple angles captured the surreal scene. Abandoned spotlight, orchestra members exchanging baffled glances, and the distant sound of heated arguing behind the curtains. The theater's official statement about sudden illness rang hollow when ushers told journalists they'd seen Zegler laughing with fans at the stage door just 30 minutes prior. Meanwhile, Brown's whirlwind preparation involved wardrobe assistants literally fastening her costume as she ran toward the stage, her first notes coming just 90 seconds after being thrust into the spotlight. A baptism by fire that would permanently alter both women's careers in one unforgettable night. This very public unraveling was simply the latest chapter in Zegler's precipitous fall from Hollywood's next big thing to industry cautionary tale. Just months earlier, her star vehicle, Disney's lavish Snow White remake, had cratered spectacularly, becoming one of the studio's most expensive flops in modern history. The warning signs had been flashing red months before release, when Zegler's press tour comments dismissing the original fairy tale as a relic of patriarchal storytelling and joking about throwing rocks at the prince-alienated core Disney audiences. Leaked internal memos showed studio executives in damage control mode, ordering last-minute reshoots to soften her character's edges after test screenings scored disastrously with families.
Headline after headline demonstrating the horrible reputation that she has made for herself because she just can't seem to keep her own thoughts in her brain.
When the film finally limped into theaters, the numbers were catastrophic. A 66% second-week drop, empty multiplexes photographed nationwide, and ultimately losing Disney over $100 million when marketing costs were factored in. What stung most wasn't just the financial loss, but the cultural rejection. The film's 1.6 IMDb rating, placing it among the site's worst-rated movies ever, was flooded with reviews specifically calling out Zegler's smug performance. Industry analysts noted this wasn't typical franchise fatigue. Other Disney live-action remakes had weathered criticism while still turning profits. The difference, as one veteran producer anonymously told Variety, was that audiences could sense the lead actor's contempt for the source material.
Snow White, the film that bombed so hard that it only brought in $50 a screen over Mother's Day weekend, is now somehow the #1 streaming hit on Disney+. And before you ask, you're going to say, how did this happen?
Making Zegler's subsequent casting as the beloved Eva Perón all the more puzzling to theater traditionalists. As Zegler's career burned, an unassuming 24-year-old understudy emerged from the ashes as the night's undisputed hero. Bella Brown, who'd spent years grinding through regional theater and ensemble roles, found herself suddenly center stage with no warning, delivering a performance that would become instant West End legend. Eyewitness accounts described how the initially nervous Brown found her footing during high-flying Adored, her voice gaining power until she absolutely shattered the audience with a devastating rendition of Don't Cry For Me, Argentina, that left veteran critics wiping their eyes. The standing ovation began before she'd even finished the final note, crescendoing to a 7-minute roar that forced the orchestra to restart the exit music 3 times. Overnight, Brown became the industry's darling. Her Instagram followers exploded from 3,000 to over 80,000 in 48 hours, while TikTok compilations juxtaposed her gracious backstage interviews with Zegler's since-deleted tweets complaining about exhausting 8-show weeks.
So in the end, it's really not about talent. It's about watching someone who thought they were above it all finally get humbled. And as far as Hollywood drama goes, this is the sort that not a lot of people can look away from.
The most damning revelation came from Palladium crew members, who disclosed Brown had secretly been studying Zegler's blocking and choreography after hours for weeks, running lines with stage managers long after the theater had emptied. She treated being understudy like she was already the star, one technician told the stage, while our actual star treated it like an inconvenience. Within days, Brown's decade of unnoticed regional theater work became inspirational clickbait, her professionalism standing in stark contrast to the diva narrative now firmly attached to Zegler. The walk-off was merely the explosive culmination of weeks of escalating tensions that had turned the Palladium backstage into a pressure cooker. Multiple crew members speaking anonymously painted a picture of Zegler as a mercurial presence, arriving late for rehearsals, demanding last-minute script changes, and allegedly refusing to participate in group warm-ups that the rest of the cast viewed as sacred tradition. She'd stroll in 15 minutes before curtain, demand a specific brand of almond milk latte, then complain the stage was 2 degrees too cold.
And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
Babe, what business do you mean? As in the films that you act in? Like the one that failed at the box office a couple months later, spectacularly? Is that the business you mean?
One stagehand told The Sun, echoing similar accounts from 3 other staffers. The breaking point reportedly came during Tech Week, when Zegler unilaterally decided her Another Suitcase solo should be performed in a vampire red spotlight against the director's explicit instructions, creating a technical nightmare for the lighting team. Leaked Slack messages between producers showed heated debates about whether to formally reprimand her for unprofessional conduct, with some worrying about negative publicity if word got out. Meanwhile, the cast's resentment grew palpable. Ensemble member Priya Kapoor posted, then quickly deleted, an Instagram story with the caption "Karma's a standing ovation," hours after Brown's triumph. Most explosively, a wardrobe assistant since deleted TikTok hinted at a physical altercation, claiming Zegler hurled a hairbrush at a dresser post-meltdown, though the theater officially denied any violent incidents occurred. The through line was clear. A talented but temperamental star had systematically burned every backstage relationship, leaving no reservoir of goodwill when crisis struck. If you're loving this deep dive into one of Hollywood's biggest meltdowns, hit like and subscribe. We uncover the truth behind entertainment's most shocking stories every week.
When I say that this has been the biggest adjustment of my life, like understanding the way my life operates now, being who I am, and the things that I've been so fortunate to make.
Social media transformed Zegler's humiliation into a spectator sport, with theater fans and detractors alike dissecting every frame of the unfolding drama. Twitter became a courtroom of public opinion, flooded with side-by-side comparisons, Brown's radiant curtain call versus Zegler's abandoned microphone. The understudy's gracious backstage interviews contrasted with Zegler's past red carpet quips about finding classic musicals problematic. On Reddit, a viral AMA from someone claiming to be an Evita attendee spun elaborate tales about Zegler rolling her eyes at young fans before the show, while TikTok edits set footage of Brown's triumphant performance to songs like "You're Welcome" from Moana racked up millions of views. The hashtag Bella Brown sweep trended for nearly 3 days as fans launched petitions demanding Brown permanently replace Zegler, a campaign that reportedly garnered over 25,000 signatures. Meanwhile, Zegler's attempt at damage control, a tweet praising understudies that read, "So inspired by these incredible artists every night," backfired spectacularly, with over 50,000 quote tweets mocking its tone-deaf timing. Even critics who'd previously championed Zegler turned sharply. The Guardian's review carried the brutal headline, "From Snow White to Snow Job," while Broadway World's poll showed 89% of readers believed Brown should take over the role permanently. The most concrete backlash came at the box office. While Zegler's remaining performances saw tickets discounted up to 50%, Brown's standby nights sold out within minutes, proving audiences would vote with their wallets when given the choice between diva drama and humble talent. Hollywood's reaction to the meltdown was swift, silent, and devastatingly effective. Within days, Zegler's name mysteriously vanished from Lionsgate's promotional materials for the Hunger Games prequel, where she'd played a supporting role, though studio reps insisted this was always the marketing plan. More telling was Netflix quietly removing her from an upcoming high-profile musical project's casting page, replacing her with Bridgerton's Charithra Chandran without comment. The most brutal blow came when her longtime CAA agent, who'd shepherded her career since her West Side Story breakthrough, mutually parted ways with Zegler, according to a terse Deadline report.
Rachel Zegler is at it again.
I really do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy.
I have learned the hard way that we have to be fearless and loud in order to be heard, and to prepare for the backlash that occasionally comes with that outspokenness.
Industry code for an unceremonious firing. Meanwhile, Bella Brown found herself suddenly fielding offers that would have been unimaginable weeks earlier. Wicked's producer tweeted her Evita clips with a star emoji, while Broadway's and Juliet offered her a principal role at nearly triple her understudy salary. The contrast became a case study in industry Darwinism, where Zegler's trajectory now mirrored fallen starlets like Megan Fox or Katherine Heigl, whose careers never recovered from difficult labels. Brown embodied the Cinderella story Hollywood pretends to value but rarely sees. Even Zegler's former champions distanced themselves. Steven Spielberg, who'd launched her career, pointedly avoided mentioning her in a SAG Awards speech about West Side Story's legacy, while original Evita star Patti LuPone tweeted simply, "Talent is cheap, professionalism is priceless." Behind the schadenfreude and industry gossip lay troubling questions about the psychological toll of Zegler's very public collapse. Paparazzi shots captured her leaving a Beverly Hills therapist's office just days after returning to LA, her normally polished image replaced by oversized sunglasses and a hoodie pulled tight around her face. A since-deleted TikTok from a Palladium usher claimed to have heard Zegler sobbing uncontrollably in her dressing room post-walk-off, though this was never independently verified. Mental health advocates cautiously reminded the public that Zegler was just 23, a young woman navigating fame's minefield without the institutional support older stars often enjoy. But critics countered that her pattern of behavior, from allegedly refusing direction from veteran choreographers to her combative social media presence, suggested entitlement rather than fragility. The truth likely resided in a painful middle ground. A talented but inexperienced performer thrust into back-to-back career-defining roles, surrounded by enablers who failed to check her worst impulses until it was too late. Even her attempted comeback posts, a single sunset photo captioned "grateful" after weeks of silence, felt more like crisis management than genuine reflection. Meanwhile, Brown's carefully curated media rollout, a People magazine spread, Good Morning America appearance, presented her as everything Zegler wasn't: humble, prepared, and above all, professional. The narrative had crystallized. One woman's breakdown became another's fairy tale, with no room for nuance in between. The entertainment industry ultimately judges by one unforgiving metric: money. And by that standard, Zegler's implosion translated to immediate financial consequences. While Evita's producers initially issued boilerplate support, leaked emails obtained by The Telegraph revealed panic among investors. Post-incident analytics showed a 37% drop in ticket sales for Zegler's remaining scheduled performances, while Brown's standby nights generated an unexpected $250,000 windfall from last-minute premium upgrades. Merchandise told its own story. $60 Evita programs featuring Zegler's face were relegated to discount bins, while the theater hastily printed new playbill inserts showcasing Brown. Most damningly, Andrew Lloyd Webber himself reportedly vetoed Zegler's heavily rumored casting in his Phantom of the Opera reboot, telling associates he needed reliability, not drama, for the franchise's revival. Insurance brokers began whispering about new actress clauses being added to production contracts, specific provisions covering unprofessional behavior that could trigger financial penalties, a direct response to the Palladium's estimated $180,000 loss from refunds and rescheduling.
That was like, Rachel Zegler doesn't have a single movie role lined up after Snow White. Rachel Zegler is making her West End debut in the biggest leading role in a musical of all time.
Even Zegler's lucrative Dior ambassadorship, once considered secure, was quietly placed under review, according to Women's Wear Daily. The message from the business side was unambiguous. While talent might open doors, calculated risk assessments keep them open, and Zegler's back-to-back disasters had recalibrated her entire commercial value equation. Beyond gossip columns and box office receipts, the Zegler-Brown saga sparked a broader cultural conversation about art, entitlement, and the social contract between performers and audiences. Podcasters and cultural critics debated whether Zegler's Snow White comments like, "I hate the prince, he's useless," reflected feminist conviction or simply poor media training, while theater traditionalists like Patti LuPone tweeted that, "Respect for the material is non-negotiable," in an unmistakable broadside. Meanwhile, Brown's old college masterclass videos resurfaced, showing her describing Evita as sacred text that demands humility, a stark contrast to Zegler's interview quips about reimagining classic roles. The dichotomy became a Rorschach test for larger cultural divides. Was Zegler a victim of toxic fandom and unrealistic expectations placed on young female stars? Or did her stumbles expose a generational gap in artistic respect? Late-night hosts had a field day. Colbert mocked her Snow White quotes with an Evita rewrite, "Don't cry for me, I'm just here to deconstruct Argentina," while TikTok essays analyzing the death of the humble star racked up millions of views. The loudest voices came from polarized Gen Z factions, #Team Bella, realists who valued preparation over pretension versus Zegler stans framing the backlash as misogynistic nitpicking. What got lost was any middle ground. In the binary world of viral hot takes, Zegler became either a cautionary tale about hubris or a martyr to cancel culture, with little room for the complicated reality in between. The entertainment industry loves nothing more than a redemption arc, but only for those who demonstrate genuine contrition. For Zegler, the path back will require more than just time and silence. Insiders suggest she needs a complete reinvention strategy, likely starting with small indie films or even ensemble theater work to rebuild burnt bridges. The problem? Snow White's failure is now taught in studio meetings as a case study in star-driven hubris, while Evita's implosion remains fresh in the theater world's collective memory. Even independent directors may hesitate, knowing her name carries baggage that could scare off investors. Meanwhile, Bella Brown's career trajectory points sharply upward. Fresh off signing with powerhouse agency WME, she's reportedly in talks for a Sunset Boulevard revival and has already filmed a cameo in the upcoming Wicked movie. The cruelest irony is that Zegler's downfall mirrors Evita's central themes about the perils of unchecked ambition and the fickleness of public adoration. Her last paparazzi shots, a lone figure in athleisure, ignored by photographers outside a LA coffee shop, stand in stark contrast to Brown's Vogue spread published the same week. The entertainment industry will always have room for talented stars, but as one veteran producer anonymously summarized, "We'll forgive almost anything except unprofessionalism." Because at the end of the day, this is a business where hundreds of people's livelihoods depend on the reliability of the name above the title. Whether Zegler's name will ever hold that weight again remains the industry's most whispered question.